Twisted Leagues, one of RuneScape's most unique events where players compete for XP and rewards on Iron Man worlds. Last Twisted League, there was such an immense popularity for the league that the servers were constantly full and a lot of attention was brought away from the main game into the leagues themselves. Today, we're going to talk about the economic effect that Twisted Leagues has on the RuneScape economy and how you can make millions of GP by properly investing. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and let's get into it. The way this video is going to work is that we're going to analyze price data from the first Twisted League to determine how item prices will likely move when the next Twisted League occurs. Now, keep in mind that these movements are not guaranteed by any means, but they serve as a good benchmark when we're looking to see how item prices might move here in the future with the next league. The first thing I did was I took a look at the consumable items, so I decided to use some of the most common consumable items as my benchmark, such as grapes, sharks, dragon bones, and some other highly traded items. I thought that this would give us a decent representation of consumable price movements, as they have such a mass popularity as consumables and are some of the most traded of the consumables. Since the last Twisted League lasted from November 2019 to January 2020, I took a look at the price movements within these timeframes, and to my surprise, most consumable items went on a wild price run when the Twisted Leagues actually hit. Now, this was actually very shocking to me because I thought the bots would remain in the main game and overload the supply in the main game, driving prices downward. And especially since less players were playing the main game as well, I thought that supply would surely outpace the demand, but this was not the case at all. And when I say a crazy price run, I really mean it. Dragon Bones went from around 2.2k each to 3k by the end of the league. Sharks ran up almost 200 GP in that time frame as well, both the cooked and the raw versions. I'm sure that this price run did not apply to every consumable item in the game, of course, but for the high demand items that I could find, this actually was the case. Anyway though, you'll see some images on screen going through the graphs at a brief glance. I highly recommend that you check these graphs out yourself. Personally, I use GE Tracker, so if you'd like to use that as well, you can support the channel and get access to premium features for 2 days if you use my link in the description below. But also, with the graphs, keep in mind that we also had a huge increase in player demand a month or so after the Twisted Leagues due to the coronavirus, so I'm not sure if the data after the leagues is completely accurate, as we've never had a player base increase as significant as that. Of course, if we're going to look at consumable items, we should also take a look at PVM Gear as well. Before actually looking at the graphs, my thoughts were these items would crash. I thought people would want to play the Twisted Leagues, so they'd likely sell off some of their armor or their weapons to sustain a membership through bonds. And since so many people were playing the leagues to begin with, I didn't think there'd be a lot of demand for the armor and weapons at the same time. Anyway, I decided to look at the Sanguesti staff, the Grazi, some of the Barrow's gear, and the Dragon Hunter gear to try to give myself a better representation of the price movement. I looked at some other stuff too, but if we want to put it on the books, this is officially what I was looking at. My predictions were mostly right though, but there was a rebound on the price for these items sooner than I actually expected in most of the cases, for everything except the Barrow's gear. The high-end PVM gear crash through pretty much the start of leagues basically happened and lasted until around mid-December, and that is when prices began to turn around for these items. Right around when the league was coming to an end but wasn't quite there yet, it still had about 2 weeks left on it. If I had to guess, this price trend will be very similar during this league as well. If I had to put my money on it, gear will act basically the same this year, as people are going to deploy the same tactics, and of course with the leagues going on, there is going to be less PVM going on and less demand all around. So looking back on it, I guess my predictions were pretty much correct, although they could have been a little bit more accurate, as I didn't expect a price recovery. Of course, how could we go through this video and not talk about the price of bonds as well? such an essential item to the game, which really shows player demand in most aspects. So I wanted to touch on bonds really quick as well. Before the league started, bonds were already super expensive. We saw bonds sitting at about 5.3, 5.2 mil kind of range. And during the league itself, guys, it's crazy what bonds did. They went all the way up to 6 million GP, one of the highest prices that we have personally ever seen on bonds here on the channel, and basically the whole time I've actually played the game. So bonds went on a crazy demand hike. I'm not sure if that's actually going to be the same case this year. I would assume so, since if it happened last year, it's likely to happen again, but bonds did reach the 6 mil point by the end of leagues, which I was very surprised with. But again, I always encourage you guys to take a look for yourself at these items. I personally use GE Tracker, but you guys can use whatever platforms you like to take a look at item prices. Anyway, typically past item demand and supply trends follow an annual trend, so things tend to be the same as the year goes around. But again, this doesn't always happen, as certain updates put out by Jagex or bot bannings can affect the price of items. So using past data for the leagues, we can get a good idea of what the price movement might look like for the next leagues, so you can invest properly regarding that information. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you did. We're always uploading investment tips here on Old School RuneScape, and we would appreciate it if you joined us. You can also check out our Discord as well, where we discuss flipping and item investing on a daily basis in the description below. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next one.